And welcome back. Now, Transport Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande has said that there's been a 41% decrease in this year's Easter death toll. Also, the Road Traffic Management Corporation, or RTMC, has said that the latest statistics as of Monday recorded a total of 1,041 arrests across South Africa this Easter long weekend. And most of the arrests were for drunk driving. 810 vehicles were impounded, 516 were discontinued, and 102,608 traffic fines were also issued. And to get more on this, we are joined by Ismail Mnisi, who's spokesperson for the Department of Transport. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we look at these numbers, a reduction, any reduction, one would say, is welcome at this stage, but 41% decrease. How did you manage that?
Well, it was a collaborative effort between National Department of Transport, provinces, municipalities, and corporate South Africa that gave us these results we're having. We remain appreciative for that cooperation, but importantly, the road users this time turned the tide. They listened to the messages that we've been putting across. They've cooperated with the law enforcement officers. Hence, we have the difference.
So you look at those numbers, one has to ask, how much did the financial, the social, economic situation in the country actually feed into this? Did we have more, less, or just about the same number of road users on the road this time around?
We have this almost the same number of road users who uses particularly our main routes, the N1, the N3, and the N4, as the main feeders to the pilgrims that we have throughout our country, and as the roads that goes towards the seashores for holiday makers. So roughly the numbers are still the same. However, we'll give a consolidated figure when we release officially the report.
So speaking of official reports, we're talking about a 41% decrease, but do we know the actual number of fatalities for this Easter period?
Certainly, from the 18th to the 21st of April, we had about 104 fatalities, and we have not already included the 22nd, which was the day that the majority of people are traveling back home. Minister Nzimande will announce it when he gives the official report. However, 104 is groundbreaking for many years that we have not had such a decreased number of fatalities on our roads. And when it comes to crashes, we have recorded about 80 crashes out of all of these fatalities that we've had.
So just breaking down some of the statistics, 1,041 people arrested. Let's talk about those arrests and what in the main was the reason for the arrests.
Well, in the main, drunken driving was led to many of those arrests, issues of speeding, undocumented drivers, and general negligence of many drivers on our roads. So, which ultimately points to the fact that we've always said that 89% of our crashes on our road as a result of human error. So we still have that as the main reason for these fatalities and crashes that we've had on our roads.
810 vehicles impounded for what?
Unroadworthy vehicles. In the main, public transport vehicles have been, leading the states. We've continuously appealed to our motorists to ensure that their vehicles are roadworthy, and before they take any other trip, that they must make sure that their tires are good for the roads, that mechanically the car is in a good condition, and that it is also being licensed, because we had to remove many vehicles on our roads which were not licensed properly, or which their permit has expired. And also the others which were simply unroadworthy vehicles. In KZN, in Marion Hill, there was a taxi vehicle which clearly was not supposed to be on the road, and we had to discontinue that particular vehicle. And in many other road blocks that we've had similar instances.
So along with that one at Marion Hill, you also discontinued another 515 other vehicles. But what does it mean when you discontinue a vehicle? What happens?
Well, the car gets impounded and the driver has to pay a fee to release it. But the major concern is that if those cars were licensed and we find them on our roads, clearly there is something wrong with the issuance of the permit for that car to be on the road, or of the license. So hence we've got this unannounced visit to many of our, licensing departments to check exactly what is happening there. Are there any instances of corruption that are taking place, where cars which are not at the testing stations are given discs to be on the road, and a number of those factors. We investigate them, and we also made several arrests in the previous months of such instances. So clearly this indicates that we still have vehicles which are not supposed to be on our roads, which are on our roads, and we still have people with undocumented licenses who are on our roads. So clearly there are those people who are simply taking chances, getting on our roads, knowingly very well that they do not possess driver's licenses.
And are our laws punitive enough to discourage this type of behavior? Are we stringent enough? Are the sentences harsh enough?
Look, we have not been, and hence we have made recommendations that we need to change, reschedule our laws. For example, driving to a Schedule 5, which is a criminal act, and also, making sure that people who get arrested for speeding are not given immediate fines. They will have to sit and appear in court, and also making sure that when we implement the demerit point system, the RTO system, those are the measures that we will put in place to make sure that we deter drivers from doing wrong things on our roads, from not adhering to what ought to be there. By implementing those measures, certainly we'll come to a position where we have the right people on our roads, vehicles which are fit to be on our roads, and reduce these carnages.
Let's talk about this act a little bit that the President, we understand, is soon to sign into law. How do the pilot projects go? Because over the years, we've heard about some disgruntlement, obviously, on the side of road users, but also some difficulty with the administration of this particular RTO Act. So talk to us about that.
Well, recall that we have piloted it in Gauteng, in Tshwane Metro and in Johannesburg. It did very well, actually, in those two cities, and the recovery of fines went very well. And that's why we are now extending it to all other provinces. And our hope is that it will be received well by everybody in those areas. And also the motorists will make sure that they reduce the punitive measures that will come their way. Because if they do not comply, unfortunately, we'll have to evoke the RTO Act on them, and which means that they will lose points and ultimately get off our roads or even lose their licenses. So that's how serious we are to deal with lawlessness on our roads.
And the reason I ask about this pilot project is because the demerit system was supposed to be in effect. How effective was that? Did people actually receive those demerits? Did anybody actually have their license revoked at some point as a result of that?
No. The pilot mainly was focusing on the collection of
fines.
The fines. Yes, because we did not roll it out completely because it had to go through the parliamentary processes. Now that it has been there, and we are confident that litigations will be limited, that's why we'll implement it fully, and the demerit point system will now be applicable.
So speaking of that as well, where people have also complained that they have not received some of these fines because we know that our postal service is a mess. It's in the doldrums. So how are you going to deal with that situation?
Well, through the Road Traffic Infringement Agency, we are going to contact all the motorists. We'll have a central database of all road users in our country, and fines will be sent to them via post. If not via post, also electronic messages through cell phones will be sent to motorists, and as well they can walk into any of our facilities to request a printout of their fines so that they then can be assisted with those. Then they will know in advance that they do have infringements that they need to pay, and they will have to comply with those, because failure to do so might lead to other consequences.
Well, Ismail, wanted to ask you about speeding because I also noted that the R21 in Gauteng, that's where the highest recorded a speedster was trapped at 203 kilometers per hour. So did you find that that was also still a problem?
It is still a problem, particularly in major cities where people speed. And when they know that the majority of people have left to holidays, and you do have those individuals who take advantage of our modern infrastructure in metros and speed, thinking that our concentration will be on the national roads. Unfortunately for them, that we have deployed our law enforcement officers across our road networks, equitably so, but focusing on those areas where we know that we have major crashes.
Oh, Ismail, thanks so much for coming through. Ismail Mnisi is the spokesperson for the Department of Transport, giving us the latest with regard to the Easter Road death toll figures and arrests that have been effected as well.